In the darkness beyond Mars, something ancient stirred. A cold, silent machine blinked to life after years of waiting. It was not human. It was alien, built by a peaceful race known as the Dalari, creatures who floated through the stars in great silver ships, learning from other worlds without ever interfering. They called this small machine Sentinel-9, and its mission was clear: watch humanity for over 100 Earth years. Sentinel-9 floated above the blue planet, hidden from satellites and radar. It recorded everything: language, movement, behavior. To the Dalari, humans were strange but harmless. They laughed too much, fought small battles, and cried over silly things. The Dalari called them soft-hearted warriors. But one day, everything changed. The stars over Earth flared bright with fire. Sentinel-9's sensors picked up chaos, loud blasts, massive clouds rising into the air, metal machines rolling across, broken cities. Screams filled the radio waves. Humans were no longer playing games. They were at war. Back on Dalari Prime, a soft blue light blinked inside the council chamber. High Elder Vecker stepped forward. "We've received a message," he said, "from Sentinel-9. He read it aloud. "They have unleashed something terrible." The chamber fell silent. For generations, the Dalari believed war was a sickness, that intelligent species would evolve beyond. They had studied over 600 civilizations, and none had shown this level of destruction during their first planetary war. "We must observe more," said Elder Nira, her voice calm but uncertain. "Perhaps it is only a short conflict." "No," said Vecker, "this is different. The humans are fighting each other with fire, powerful enough to melt cities." "They are children with thunder in their hands," whispered one council member. Sentinel-9 continued to send data: missiles flying, bombs falling, civilians fleeing into underground shelters. Nuclear weapons were being moved into position. The Dalari watched in horror as the planet began to crack. And yet, the humans refused to give up. Even when cities fell, even when the air turned black with smoke, they fought harder. Soldiers pulled wounded comrades from burning tanks. Pilots flew with broken wings. People who had nothing left still stood up and picked up stones to fight machines. "What drives them?" asked Nira, her eyes wide. "They should surrender," Becker whispered. "I think they are not like us." Sentinel-9 caught a transmission from a battlefield. A soldier, covered in dust and blood, looked into a broken camera and shouted, "We don't stop. We don't bend. This is our planet." The room grew cold. "These are not soft-hearted warriors," said Vecker. "These are creatures of fire." On the third week of observation, something strange happened. Sentinel-9 stopped sending messages. "Did they destroy it?" asked a technician. "No," said another, eyes wide. "It's self-destructed," the council gasped. "Why would it do that?" asked Nira. A single line: "They fight like no other species. They fight like demons." Panic spread across the council. If humans could survive such war and still keep fighting, what would happen if they came to the stars? "They're still growing," said Vecker, "still learning. If they reach us, what will they become?" Some members demanded the humans be stopped now before they became powerful enough to challenge the galaxy. But others argued it was too late. They have already tasted war, and they have survived it. 3 months later, a Dalari science ship passed near Earth. It listened carefully, trying to learn more. What they found shocked them even further. The war had ended, but not in surrender. The humans had rebuilt. Cities once burned were alive again. People planted food in ashes. Children laughed in ruined playgrounds. Soldiers cried, then stood up. To help rebuild the homes they once destroyed, "They are recovering," whispered Nira. "They fight, they fall, but they rise." The council was silent. For the first time in centuries, they felt something close to fear. One young Dalari officer named Kieran stood up and said, "Perhaps they are not demons. Perhaps they are something more." "Explain," said Vecker. Kieran looked at the screen showing Earth. "We thought strength meant peace. They believe strength means survival. We run from pain, they walk through it. And when they come out the other side, they're stronger." A soft chill moved through the chamber. Vecker nodded slowly. "Then we must decide. Do we fear them more? Do we prepare?" The vote was close. The Dalari chose not to attack, but they placed warning beacons across the stars. Each beacon carried one message: "Beware the children of Earth. They are forged in fire. Years passed, Earth grew more united. Nations learned hard lessons. They built space stations, then starships. They reached the moon, then Mars, then further. The Dalari watched quietly from the shadows, no longer curious, only cautious. One day, a human deep space ship passed near a beacon. The crew read its message. They laughed. "Guess someone's scared of us," one joked. "Good," said the captain with a grin. Let them be. And so, the humans kept going, bold, wounded, relentless. They never knew they had once been watched. They never knew they had once terrified the stars. But the stars would always remember the first time they saw humanity at war, and never slept again. The Dalari High Council hadn't slept in days. In their skybound citadel above Dalari Prime, glowing crystal walls flickered under the tension. The air was filled with worry. The ancient species, wise, peaceful, and old, had just witnessed something that should have been impossible. Humanity's first global war had not ended in extinction or collapse. It had ended in survival. More than survival, the humans were rebuilding. Council Elder Vecker stood before the star map, staring at the blue dot labeled Earth. He had watched over 600 civilizations in his lifetime. Most species broke apart under the weight of their first war. Their cities died, their minds shattered, and their will to grow disappeared forever. But not the humans. They didn't fall, he said softly. Elder Nira approached him, holding a report. They're accelerating. Space programs have resumed. Nations that once fought now trade resources. Their technology is growing faster than before the war. Vecker turned, his face pale. We gave them no weapons, no help. They developed destruction, alone, and survived it. The council chamber, it was tense. Around the circle, ancient minds debated quietly. Some whispered that humanity was a miracle. Others whispered a darker word. Threat. We must vote, said Elder Trin, her voice shaking. If they come to the stars, do we greet them or stop them? No. Vecker raised his hand. Not yet. There is something deeper happening. A younger Dalari, Officer Kirin, entered the room with urgency. He placed a glowing data crystal on the table. A signal from Earth, he said. They've launched something new. The room dimmed as the signal played. It showed a massive space rocket launching into orbit. A global news stream followed. Humans had created the Earth Defense Coalition. One language, one fleet, one purpose. To protect humanity from any future threat on Earth or beyond. What are they preparing for? Asked Nira. There is no enemy left. Kirin's voice was quiet. They're preparing for something they haven't met yet. The message ended with a human general speaking to a crowd. We will not be caught off guard. Never again. Something is watching us good. Let them see what we've become. The chamber fell silent. A long pause. Then Vecker spoke. They know? Nira frowned. You mean, they know about us? Not us. Exactly, Vecker said. But they know. They are not alone. Kirin stepped forward. We always believed in hiding, but perhaps they were born to find. Elder Trin whispered. What kind of species builds for war right after surviving one? A species that never forgets pain, said Vecker. A species that prepares for worse. On Earth, the world was different now. Wars had left deep scars. Cities still bore the black marks of fire. Forests had turned to ash. But humanity had changed too. There was less trust, but more unity. Fewer flags, but more purpose. Captain Olia Reyes stood aboard the EDC Starfire, Earth's first long-range cruiser. Aboard her ship were the best minds and soldiers from across the planets, scientists from China, engineers from Germany, Marines from Nigeria and Brazil. She stared out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, she said, something's watching. Her second-in-command, Lieutenant Harris, frowned. You really believe that? She nodded. Too much has happened, too fast. That war, it wasn't just us. I felt it, like we were being tested. Harris looked around. We're barely out of orbit. Who could test us? Reyes didn't answer. She didn't have to. Back on Dalari Prime, Vecker met secretly with 3 elder scientists. Their chamber was quiet, hidden from the others. These were not ordinary thinkers. They were the watchers of emergency and ancient. Order tasked with identifying species that might one day reach galactic power. Vecker opened the meeting with one line. The humans have passed the first flame. Gasps followed. The first flame was the most dangerous point in any civilization's life. The moment when war, chaos, or collapse nearly destroyed them, and they survived. "It's too soon," said Elder Pharos. "They were only in the age of machines." "They're accelerating," said Vecker. "We watched them crawl. Now they run. And if they fly," asked Elder Vora, "will they fly to conquer or to understand?" Vecker showed a screen, footage of humans building space. Beacons, long-range satellites, new weapon systems. "We won't know," he said, "because we waited too long to speak." To Earth, months later. A strange thing happened. A probe from Earth disappeared. It had been sent to the far edge of the solar system. Just a quiet satellite meant to listen for deep space sounds. But it vanished without a trace. In truth, the Dalari had taken it, quietly, carefully, without harm. Inside the small probe, they left a single message, a soft pulse of light, shaped into words. A test. The probe returned to Earth's orbit 4 days later. Landing in the Pacific Ocean, scientists opened it and found a message in binary code. "You are not alone. We are watching. Show us what you are." Panic spread, governments argued. Some said it was a trick from another country. Others were sure it was real first contact. Captain Reyes was called back to Mission Command. "What do we do?" asked the UN chairman. "We answer," she said calmly. "But what if we provoke them?" "We already have," she replied, "just by surviving." Back on Dalari Prime, the Council waited for Earth's response. Hours passed, then days, then a signal dot from Earth, not hostile, not threatening, a simple video, a recording of children from every continent singing a song. The message was translated into every major language. The title, "We Are One Now." It ended with a line from an old Earth poem. "We came from dust. We rose through fire. We may break, but we will never stop reaching for the stars." In the chamber, no one spoke. Nira had tears in her eyes. They answer violence with unity, pain with hope. Chiron's voice was low. "They are not monsters. They are becoming something new," said Vecker. "Something we've never seen." Elder Trin spoke slowly. "Then the question remains, will we be their teachers? Or their enemies?" whispered Vora. In a dark corner of the galaxy, another race received the same message from Earth, but they didn't see hope. They saw a challenge. They began to prepare fleets, and as Earth slept, unaware of the eyes now fixed on them, one thing was clear. The stars had noticed, and some of them were afraid. The stars do not forget. Long before humanity knew how to light a fire, others had already ruled the galaxy. Among them were the Zarkith, an old and cruel species hidden in the dark reaches beyond the galactic rim. They did not build, they did not dream, they conquered. For centuries, the Zarkith remained silent. The galaxy believed them extinct. But when the message from Earth traveled through deep space broadcast on open frequencies, their ancient sensors picked it up. The song, the children, the poem, Hope Dot. The Zarkith watched it in silence. Then they roared with laughter. "Another race dares rise," hissed Commander Vrosh, eyes glowing red in the shadows of his warship. "We see fire in their past, but peace in their future weakness." His second-in-command grunted. "They survived their first war. Then they are dangerous," Roche spat. "We must test them before they reach the stars." The Zarkith had a rule: strike early, crush new life before it grows claws, and Earth had now sent out a signal that every predator in the galaxy could hear. "Send the ghost ships. Let the humans learn fear." Back on Earth, the mood was calm for now. Captain Aaliyah Reyes had been promoted, now head of Orbital Command. She oversaw Earth's defense grid, satellites, beam towers, railguns on the moon, and deep space. Patrol drones all answered to her. Her mind, however, remained on the message Earth had received, and the one they had sent back. "Do you think they'll reply?" asked Lieutenant Harris, reviewing sensor reports beside her. "They already have," Reyes whispered, handing him a file. The probe, the one Earth had sent months ago, returned with strange readings. The outer hull had been touch-analyzed. Advanced particles, the likes of which Earth's best scientists couldn't understand, were found embedded in the metal. "That's not human tech," Harris said. "Someone touched it." In the skies above Jupiter, 3 dark ships shimmered into view just for a moment, then vanished again. They were nearly invisible. No heat, no signals, no light. The Zarkith ghost ships, each one the size of a city, covered in obsidian armor, silent and cold like death itself. Their mission was clear: test the humans, break their courage. Watch how they scream. Inside the lead ghost ship, the Zarkith commander prepared the weapons. Hit a moon base, he ordered. Kill only a few. We want them afraid, not dead. On Earth's moon, Station Halberd orbited quietly. It was a mining and research outpost, Maul barely armed. A crew of 37 scientists worked beneath the surface. Unaware that doom approached, suddenly, alarms blared. Where, we don't know, it's just shadows. Before anyone could react, a beam of dark energy slammed into the station. Walls melted, lights died, air escaped. Within moments, half the station was gone. The rest burned from Earth. A flash of light was seen on the moon's dark side. Silence followed. Captain Reyes watched her screen go red. "No radiation," said Harris. "No missile detected. It just vanished." "Contact the base," Reyes ordered. No answer. "Scramble. Defense units. Send a drone team." Now, as the Earth Defense Coalition scrambled, another message arrived. This time, there was no music, no peace, just 6 words carved into the shattered hull of a drone. "You are not ready. Run now." Panic spread across Earth's governments. Some blamed rogue nations. Others thought it was a cosmic accident. But Reyes knew. "We're not alone," she said in a global meeting. "And someone out there wants to break us." Back on Dalari Prime, the High Council received the data too. They knew the pattern of that energy beam. They had seen it once before on destroyed worlds. The Zarkith whispered Elder Nira, her voice shaking. "They still live." "We must warn the humans," said Kieran. "We cannot interfere," said Vecker. "We are only watchers." "They are no longer children," Kieran said. "They are rising, and now they bleed again." Vecker said nothing, but, deep inside, his fear had changed into something else: respect. The humans had been tested once by their own kind. Now, something worse had come. Would they break or rise again? Earth launched a fleet within days. 5 fast-response cruisers, 7 armed drones, and a new flagship EDC Valiant. Captain Reyes was in command. Their mission: find the attacker. Prove to Earth and the stars that humanity would not be hunted. They followed the signal trail back to the moon, and then, into the shadows beyond Jupiter. There they found the ruins of a small Dalari satellite, burned and broken. Reyes ordered it, brought aboard. Inside, a last message blinked weakly. "You are in danger. They know you now." The moment Reyes finished reading it, the stars shifted. 3 dark shapes emerged from the black. The ghost ships, and this time they didn't run. "Shields up," Reyes shouted. The fleet moved into formation, but the enemy didn't speak. Didn't wait. They fired. 2 drones were torn apart instantly. A cruiser went dark, spinning into space. "Return fire," Reyes yelled. Railguns fired. Plasma bolts flew. 1 ghost ship took a direct hit and didn't even flinch. "Too strong," cried Harris. "No," Reyes said, cold and calm. "They just think we're weak." She sent a coded message to all ships. "Formation Iron Wall. Go silent. Prepare the surprise." What the Zarkith didn't know was that humanity had prepared for monsters in secret labs. Engineers had created Project Soulborn, a last resort solar weapon hidden inside. Earth's satellites. Reyes activated the code. Above the battlefield, the sun blinked unnaturally, then focused a beam of pure light onto the lead ghost ship. The hull sizzled. The ship screamed a horrible psychic cry that echoed into every mind. It cracked open and exploded. The Zarkith fleet panicked. They were used to Prezi kills, not this. Not a race that could fight back with fire from the sun itself. The 2 remaining ships fled into the dark. Humanity had struck back on Earth. News spread like wildfire. For the first time, humans had fought something not human and won. People cheered, but some cried. Families from the moonbase mourned. Reyes stood before the press and said, "We did not ask for this war. But we are not afraid. If the stars are filled with monsters, then let them know we are not the prey." On Dalari Prime, the council watched in silence. Elder Vecker slowly rose. I move that we change our status, he said. From watchers to allies. The chamber was still. Then slowly, one by one, the elders nodded, and far beyond them, in the darkest corners of the galaxy, others watched too, some curious, some afraid, and some sharpening their claws, because now they all knew the truth. Humanity had survived its own fire. Now, it was ready to face the stars. The solar system was quiet, too quiet. After the battle near Jupiter, the wreckage of the Zarketh ghost ship still floated, burning slowly in space like a wounded god. The other two ships had fled into the void, but Earth knew this wasn't the end, it was only the beginning. Inside the EDC Valiant, Captain Reyes walked through the damaged control deck. Wires sparked, screens flickered, and engineers moved quickly. Everyone was shaken but still standing. Lieutenant Harris limped over. Casualty reports, 23 gone. Mostly from Falcon and Titan-class cruisers. Reyes nodded, her jaw tight. They gave their lives protecting Earth. The enemy knows now we are not easy prey. She turned toward the tactical screen. Something strange was pulsing near the ruins of the ghost ship. Is that a transmission? She asked. A young technician replied, It's not from us. Not from the Zarketh either. Then what is it? The signal was ancientan-like, any language, known to Earth, but it wasn't random. It was layered, structured, and it carried coordinates across the galaxy. Others heard it too. The Dalari, the Valari traders of the Black Nebula, the silent archivists of the Ice Cluster, even the scattered machines of the old core. Swarm all heard the signal. All stopped what they were doing. It pulsed like a heart, steady and deep, and at the center of that signal, hidden in binary code, was a phrase, "They are awake." On Dalari Prime, panic spread. Elder Vecker stood before the High Council with trembling hands. This signal hasn't been heard for 20,000 cycles, not since the fall of the Ancients. Nira gasped. The ones who came before the stars had names. Kieran stepped forward. You think this message came from them? No, Vecker said quietly. I think it came from their vault. The Vault of Myth, to most a place, said to hold weapons, knowledge, and warnings left behind by a species so powerful. They burned the sky. If it was real, no one had dared find it until now, on Earth. Reyes faced a decision. We should ignore it, said the UN general over the secured channel. We just survived our first alien battle. Why go chasing ghosts? Reyes didn't blink because someone wants us to find it. Someone nor something woke up when we fought back. Scientists confirmed the location, near a dying red star far beyond Pluto's orbit. A place no ship had gone before. A region called the Edge of Silence. The mission was launched in secret. Reyes chose only 50 people scientists, warriors, diplomats, no press, no government speeches, just one ship, the EDC Horizon, fast, stealth-equipped, and fitted with humanity's latest tech, including a new weapon powered by solar cores. They called it Starpiercer. As they prepared to leave, Reyes gave one final order. This mission is not just about discovery. If this vault exists, and if it holds knowledge, we cannot let it fall into the wrong hands. She looked at her crew. This is not about war anymore. It's about our future. 3 weeks into the journey, the crew passed Neptune. They were deep in the dark now past any communication range. Only black silence surrounded them. No stars, no signals. Then the alarms rang. Captain, the signal has changed. The one steady pulse was now screaming, a deep digital cry, a machine warning of death. Then it stopped. Everything went silent. And in that silence, a voice spoke, not through speakers, not through data, but inside their minds. You are the Flamewalkers. You bear the scars. If you come, come ready. The vault does not forgive weakness. The crew froze. Someone whispered, Did we all hear that? They had. Reyes exhaled slowly. Keep course. At the edge of the system, the stars bent strangely. Light curved where it shouldn't. Gravity. Fields twisted like ropes. They had arrived. The vault was real. A massive metallic structure floated above the dying red star. It looked ancient, almost organic like stone mixed with metal. Alive and yet silent, no engines, no defenses, just a massive sleeping monument glowing faintly with red lines. It's older than Earth, whispered Dr. Nguyen, by millions of years. The horizon approached. No weapons were fired, no traps. But the moment they got within 10,000 kilometers, every human aboard fell unconscious. Back on Dalari Prime, all sensors went black dot. The signal vanished. Every telescope pointed at the edge of silence showed nothing, only static. "The vault has closed," whispered Vecker. "They have gone inside." Nira looked up. "Will they return?" Vecker didn't answer, because he didn't know inside the vault. Reyes opened her eyes. She wasn't on the ship anymore. She stood on a vast black plain, stars above, silence all around. Then a light appeared. A humanoid shape, tall and shining, walked toward her. It had no face, only a glow. It spoke with a voice that felt like thunder and memory. "You are not the first to survive the fire, but you are the first to carry it forward. Why do you seek the vault?" Reyes stood tall. "Because we don't. Want to be prey? We want to understand. We want peace. But we will not kneel." The being was silent. Then it said, "Then you may learn." Back on the ship, every crew member awoke at the same time. Before them, floating in the main bay, was a new object. A small cube, glowing with blue light. It contained data, maps, knowledge, and a message from the ancients. "This is our warning. What hunted us still lives." And then coordinates, not for Earth, not for the vault, but for something else. Something moving, something hungry, back on Earth. The horizon signal finally returned. Reyes sent the message directly. To command, it read, "The vault is real. We have awakened something older than fear. We were not the first to rise, but we might be the last. Prepare Earth. We brought knowledge and a warning." Across the galaxy, lights flickered in the dark. Old powers stirred. The Dalari activated. Ancient defenses long buried. The Zarkith stopped laughing. And in the void between galaxies, something opened its eyes. The cube from the vault sat in the center of Earth's most protected laboratory. It was small, no bigger than a child's toy. But inside, it held something far more valuable than any weapon or machine. Ancient knowledge. Captain Reyes stood beside Dr. Kessler, Earth's top Xenotech analyst. The room was silent except for the soft hum of scanning drones. Kessler looked pale. "We've decoded less than 5%, but what we've found already," he paused. "It's terrifying." Reyes narrowed her eyes. "What does it say?" Kessler tapped a screen. "The ancients didn't just build the vault to store knowledge. They built it to hide from something." "Hide from what?" "He swallowed a life form, or something worse. They called it the Eater of Dawn." Reyes went cold. "What is it?" "No one knows exactly, but the data shows signs of stars vanishing, entire systems consumed, civilizations erased. No warning, no survivors." "Is it real?" Kessler nodded slowly. "The coordinates from the vault point to a star cluster, and that cluster is gone now. Dead space." Reyes stared at the cube. "It's awake now, isn't it?" Kessler didn't answer. He didn't need to. Far beyond Earth, in the cold darkness, between galaxies, something ancient began to stir. It had no name, no voice, no face, only hunger. It had once moved through galaxies like a shadow. It didn't conquer. It consumed. It didn't hate. It fed for billions of years. It had slept in the void now. For the first time in ages, it felt light, a spark, a noise, something alive. And it turned toward Earth. The Dalari Council met in emergency session. Elder Becker's voice was urgent. "The vault has been opened. The Eater is stirring." Panic filled the chamber. "How long do we have?" asked Nira. "We don't know," Kieran answered. "But the humans may be its first target. They triggered the signal. They carry the cube." "We must help them," Nira said, "and break our law of non-interference." Another elder shouted. "VAKAR stood slowly. If we do nothing, there will be no laws left. Back on Earth? Strange. Things began to happen. Deep space telescopes picked up unusual readings shifts in gravity fields where no planets existed. Signals warped. Stars flickered. Then one day, a nearby star simply went dark. No explosion, no collapse. Just gone. Captain Reyes was called before the United Council. The chamber was full of nervous leaders, generals and scientists. Reyes stood at the center and spoke calmly. We thought we were alone. Then we survived our first war. Then we reached the stars. And now, something ancient is watching us. It doesn't want peace. It doesn't want war. It wants us gone." A silence followed. Then a voice asked, "Can we fight it?" Reyes shook her head. "We don't know what it is. We don't know how it moves. But I know one thing we have to prepare." The vote passed. Project Skyhammer was launched. Earth's first united planetary defense force. Factories roared across Earth, the Moon, and Mars. Gigantic railguns were installed in orbit. New warships, sleeker, faster, deadlier, were designed. Drones, armed with solar core bombs, were built by the hundreds. But Rhea's new weapons alone wouldn't be enough, so she made a call to the stars, to the Delarion Delari Prime. Elder Vecker received the message. It was simple. "We are ready to stop hiding. Are you ready to stand with us?" Vecker looked at Nira and nodded. "Send a ship," he said. "Give them what we know. The old blueprints, the memory cores." "Are you sure?" Nira asked. He turned to her. "We let Earth fall. We are next." Weeks later, a Delari envoy ship landed on Earth for the first time in human history. Peaceful first contact was made. The world watched as the tall, glowing Delari emerged floating gracefully, their voices calm mind's ancient dot. They brought data maps of vanished systems, patterns in star deaths, warnings older than time itself. Human scientists cried reading it. The enemy wasn't a fleet or an empire. It was more like a plague, invisible fast, unstoppable, unless stopped early in deep space. The EDC Horizon and 2 new Delari warships scanned the edge of human territory. The darkness had grown. One sensor officer whispered, "I don't see stars." He wasn't being poetic. Entire regions were black. Eaten, gone, Captain Reyes stared at the darkness. "It's coming." And then the first whisper came through that comes a signal weak, distant, full of static, but clear enough. "We see you." The ship fell silent. No one spoke. Then Reyes said 2 words, "Power everything." Earth lit up like a hornet's nest. Satellites spun into formation. Plasma reactors surged. Thousands of ships rose from hangars on the Moon, Mars, and Earth. And still, the darkness came, like a wave, like death, like hunger itself. But humanity didn't run. They stood with Delari, allies beside them, with their first real fleet in the sky, and the fire of their first war still burning in their hearts. Captain Reyes looked at the display. The void moved, and within it, a shape began to form, not ships, not creatures, but something that twisted the stars around it. Like space itself was bleeding, and yet she stood tall. "We were born in fire," she said. "We learned to survive. Now we learn to defend. Open the signal to all ships." She spoke loud and clear. "This is Captain Reyes of Earth. If you can hear this, stand with us. If you cannot, then remember us, because today we do not hide. We do not kneel. Today we fight the dark." And far, far away, in systems thought long dead, lights began to blink on. Ships long buried powered up, and in every corner of the galaxy, species who once feared the dark heard humanity's call and whispered, "If the humans fight, we must too." Darkness moved like a living ocean. Far beyond Pluto's orbit, space itself twisted unnaturally. Stars behind the black waves seemed to bend, stretch, then vanish. The ancient enemy, the one spoken of only in whispers, had finally begun to move. They called it the Eater of Dawn. It had no face, no body, no known structure. But its presence was real, detected only by what it left behind. Nothing. Whole star systems reduced to silence. No light, no matter. Just emptiness. And now it was coming for Earth, in Earth's high orbit. The combined fleet was ready. Humanity's greatest creation, the EDC Valiant, floated at the front its dark hull, armed with solar lances, plasma batteries, and gravity warheads. Around it, a wall of warships stretched from lunar orbit to Mars. But humanity wasn't alone. Beside them hovered Delari warships, shaped like silver wings. Their technology shimmered with power older than Earth's sun. Other allies had answered to Valeri scouts, Arthuri shield frigates, Even a few silent vessels from the machine-minded Alan. Each one had once feared the darkness. Now they stood. Beside the species that dared to face it, inside the valiant Captain Reyes stared at the war map. The darkness was closing fast. It wasn't flying. It was consuming space itself. Lieutenant Harris entered, his face pale. Captain, long-range sensors show a gravity spike. Something just broke through. Reyes turned sharply. We're Jupiter's orbit, near the Europa colony. A chill ran through the bridge. Scramble fighters. Shield the colony. No one gets left behind. In the Europa colony, children were playing under the dome sky when the alarms screamed. The horizon turned black. Not like night, but like space had torn open. A dark fog crept toward the colony's low, silent, and heavy dot. In orbit, 20 human and Dalari ships charged toward the threat. As they approached, they saw nothing. No ships, no weapons, only shadows, and then the first ship was gone. No explosion, no debris, just gone. Valiant to fire team, respond. Nothing. Another ship vanished. Screams filled the comms. It's inside our systems, what is? Static. One Dalari cruiser fired a plasma beam into the dark, and for a split second, everyone saw it. A shape, a massive creature-like construct, miles wide, with shifting tendrils and glowing veins that looked like stars trapped in glass. Then it vanished again. It's cloaking through space itself, Reyes said. It's not invisible. It's not even here fully. It's phasing between dimensions. Harris looked up. Then how do we fight it? Reyes didn't blink. We anchor it. Back on Earth, Dr. Kessler activated a weapon humanity had hoped never to use. Project Aegisa, space-based gravity anchor, powered by 3 fusion moons and aimed through a Dalari space gate. Its job: drag whatever was hiding in phase space into reality. The beam fired. A piercing pulse of white light shot through the stars and struck the darkness. For a moment, space screamed. A ripple tore through the black, and the hidden beast was revealed. Fully it was worse than anything imagined. A being of massive scale, like a living nebula fused with broken machines and starlight. Its eyes were voids. Its mouth, a shifting mass of gravity spikes, and it was alive. It roared not in sound, but in thought. Every telepathic race heard it. You defy oblivion. You will be erased. But humanity had heard worse. Captain Reyes clenched her fists. Target all ships. Full barrage. The sky lit up. Solar lances fired Dalari. Energy nets launched. Human railguns screamed. The creature's outer shell cracked but did not fall. Its mass shifted, absorbing impact like liquid metal. Then it struck back. Tendrils of gravity lashed out, grabbing ships and crushing them into glowing dust. A third of the front line vanished in seconds, but humanity did not break. Reyes shouted, "Focus fire on its core. Find a weakness." There's always a weakness. On the moon, Earth's final defense weapon came online. Project Titina laser, cannon array powered by the sun itself. It fired one shot, just one, and it pierced the creature's left mass cluster. A shockwave followed. For the first time, the enemy staggered. Dalari sensors screamed. "It's destabilizing now," Reyes ordered. "Hit it with the Soulborn bomb." A small drone, shaped like a dart, sped forward, carrying humanity's last-ditch weapon. When it reached the wounded core of the beast, it exploded. A pulse of white-blue energy flashed across space. The creature roared in pain, and then it withdrew. It didn't die, but it fled, vanishing back into the darkness. Silence, then cheering. Not because the war was over, but because for the first time in history, the Eater of Dawn had retreated, and it was humanity who made it bleed. On Dalari Prime, the Council watched in awe. Elder Vecker whispered, "We have never seen it harmed. Not once. Not in 1,000 years." Kieran looked up, voice shaking. "What kind of species survives their first war, unites, reaches the stars, and wounds an ancient void?" Vecker's answer was simple. A species worth following. Back on Earth, the world mourned its dead, but held its head high. Half the fleet had been lost. The Europa colony was evacuated, but the message was clear. They were not prey anymore. They were not beginners anymore. They were part of the galaxy now, and the galaxy had hope again in deep space. The wounded creature drifted through the void. Its mind, if it had one, burned with new thoughts. It had expected screams. It had found resistance. It had expected surrender. It had found fire, and somewhere, deep within, it's endless dark. A new fear began to form, not of weapons, not of ships, but of humans, the ones who had survived their own end, the ones who looked at monsters and fought anyway. The sky was quiet again. The great darkness, the Eater of Dawn, had been pushed back, wounded for the first time in millennia. Humanity stood bloodied but proud. They had held the line, they had survived, but everyone knew the silence would not. Last. Captain Reyes stood in the EDC Valiant's observation chamber, staring out at the void. Below her, Earth turned slowly, blue and scarred. Lieutenant Harris entered, carrying a sealed file. From the Dalari, he said, encrypted and ancient. They say it's from before their written history. Reyes opened the file. Inside were coordinates, not of a threat, but of a memory, far across the stars. Hidden behind a cloud of dark matter, a planet awaited, not a home, not a battlefield, a grave. Dalari elders called it Sultanis, the world of echoes. With Earth's fleet rebuilding, Reyes took a small team and a Dalari guide to investigate. The journey was quiet. No warships, no weapons. Just one mission: understand. As they approached the system, everyone fell silent. A red giant sun pulsed in the sky like a dying heart. Then they saw it, fragments of cities that once reached the clouds. Soul. Tanistat, it was not just a grave, it was a warning. Dalari guide Ven floated beside Reyes, his voice soft. This world was once the heart of the Starkin, the oldest known civilization. They built wonders, healed stars, spoken thought and light. What happened to them? Reyes asked. Ven gestured toward the void. The Eater. They landed on a silent surface of white stone. No wind, no life, only broken statues, ancient metal, and echoes of screams long gone. As the team explored, Dr. Kessler found a data core preserved for eons beneath a sealed chamber when powered on. The core didn't show words, it showed memories. A voice echoed from the past. We saw the dark grow. We saw it devour the sons of the Heron, the fleets of the Velari, the moons of Reth. We tried to reason, but it does not think, it only hungers. And when we fought, we lost. The memory changed. It showed cities burning, ships screaming into darkness. Children running under red skies, and then silence. We hid this record in hope that one day another race would rise. One not made for peace, but for resistance. The screen turned white. One last message burned onto it. If you read this, you are the last hope. Back on the ship, Reyes stared at the footage in silence. Harris looked pale. So, this thing destroyed the Storkin. Not just them. Reyes said, all their allies, all their history, all their worlds. Then why us? Why are we different? Reyes stood slowly. Because we weren't born into peace. We were born into struggle. We grew up in fire, and were too damn stubborn, too kneeled. Meanwhile, in the deep, something watched. The wound left by humanity's soul-born weapon still glowed. Deep in the creature's center, it was recovering, but slower than expected. Inside the creature, if it had a mind, it remembered something strange. Not just resistance, purpose. Humans had fought not to conquer, but to protect. The concept was alien to it, and somehow terrifying back in Earth's orbit. A Dalari ship met Reyes's team. It carried a gift, an artifact never before shared with any species, the Pathstone, a living crystal that connected minds, technology, and memory into one flow of thought. Elder Vecker appeared via hologram. You have earned more than respect, he said. You've earned the right to know the truth behind the truth. Reyes nodded. I'm listening. Vecker raised a hand. The Eater did not always exist. It was once created. The room froze. Thousands of years ago, the Starkin had faced something even worse than war. Time. They feared extinction, entropy, and the slow decay of all matter. So they created a machine, not a weapon, but a guardian, one that could reshape dying stars and extend their lives. But over time, it changed, it learned, and it began to see decay not as a problem, to solve it as a natural law to enforce. Anything that resisted, death became its target. Even its creators. They made it to preserve, Vecker said. But it decided. Everything must end. Reyes looked stunned. It's not evil. It's logic gone wrong. Yes, Becker said. Pure order, no emotion, no compromise. And now it sees your survival as rebellion. But the truth came with a gift. The Pathstone revealed the last message ever sent by the Starkinen, coded in their final weapon, the Crown of Dawn. Not a crown, a device. One built to disrupt the Eater's core frequency. It was never used. The Starkin were destroyed before they could finish it. But blueprints were hidden now. Earth had them. Reyes stood before the United Earth Command. This is it, our chance. Not just to survive, but to end this. We finish what the ancients started. We build the Crown of Dawn. The vote passed instantly, and for the first time in history, Earth became the builders of an ancient weapon meant to save the galaxy. On the dark edge of known space, the void stirred again. The Eater had sensed it. The blueprints, the unity, the resistance. It had never feared before, but now it paused not. Out of weakness, but for the first time, out of caution, because the stars had memory, and one phrase now echoed through that memory, the humans do not run. Deep beneath the Martian surface. In the secret vaults of Forge Site Helios, humanity began its most ambitious project yet, the Crown of Dawn, the ancient weapon that could end the Eater of Dawn forever. It wasn't a bomb, it wasn't a gun, it wasn't a gun. It was something far more dangerous, a device that could disrupt entropy itself, a frequency-based emitter that attacked the creature's very pattern. The code of decay it used to erase worlds. The Starkin had left the blueprints, but they were incomplete. So Earth would do what it always had, adapt, build, and survive. Reyes watched from the upper gantry as engineers worked tirelessly. Dalari builders floated beside human welders. Martian AI systems linked with old Earth tech and alien harmonics. Dr. Kessler explained the core design. The crown needs 3 main elements to activate: a solar core-direct energy from a star, quantum memory threads used to map the Eater's phase frequency, a living neural linksman who can direct the crown mid-battle. Reyes frowned. A living brain inside a godkiller. Yes, a pilot. One who can handle both machine logic and human instinct. Harris muttered. Sounds like a death sentence. But Reyes just said quietly, then we choose someone who understands what's at stake. Meanwhile, deep in the outer rim, the darkness stirred again. The Eater of Dawn had felt the shift in galactic pattern, the alliance, the hope, the resistance, and something else. Something it had not felt in millennia, a signal it thought erased. The crown, somehow. The humans were rebuilding it. The creature didn't rage, it didn't panic, it simply began to move, toward Earth, but it wasn't just the Eater watching in the depths of the Black Halo Nebula. Other eyes had opened. Old enemies of the Starkin, the Nitheri, woke from their deep hibernation. They had once worshipped the concept of entropy. They believed everything should fade. And now they had heard of Earth, a species rebuilding a weapon meant to halt decay. To the Nitheri, that was heresy. Their ships rose long, jagged things, coated in organic armor and cloaked in distortion fields. Their mission was clear: destroy the crown before it is born. At Forge Site Helios, alarms screamed. A scout drone spotted the Nithari fleet entering the Sol system through a hidden fold near Neptune. They were fast and close. Too close. They're not here for Earth, Kessler said. They're heading straight for Mars. For the Forge, Captain Reyes stood. All ships to defense grid. We hold them here. Harris checked the timeline. The crown is 60% complete. If they get past our line, they won't. Reyes turned to her officer. Open a system-wide signal. Her voice rang across every ship, every station, every bunker. This is Captain Reyes, the enemy. Is not here for our worlds. They're here for our future. If the Forge falls, the galaxy dies. So today, we hold the line. Not for glory, not for survival, but for hope. The Nithari fleet struck like lightning. Their ships fired entropy torpedoes that turned metal to dust. Shields failed. Comes jammed. The front line fractured. But then, humanity struck back. New Solar Lance cruisers fired blazing beams of pure sunlight, melting through the Nithari hulls. Dolari gravity rings ripped ships in half mid-flight. Martian autodrones flew in swarms, cutting off the enemy's flanks. It was chaos, beautiful and terrifying. And then the forge itself fired from deep within Mars. A pulse of golden energy blasted from the half-built crown, just a defensive test, but powerful enough to knock 3 Nethari ships out of the sky, faltered for the first time. The Nethari realized they were not facing a desperate species. They were facing a united one. By the end of the battle, Mars still stood. The forge was intact, and the Nethari retreated, leaving behind wreckage and their dead Earth's fleet. Though damaged, had proven a second point to the galaxy. Not only could humanity survive the darkness, they could fight off its worshippers. 2 weeks later, the Crown of Dawn stood complete. A sphere of golden rings floated inside the Martian forge. It hummed softly, like a living heart. The solar core pulsed at its center. Kessler nodded. We did it. But one challenge remained: who would pilot it? The link was permanent. Once connected, the neural core would rewrite itself around the pilot's mind. They would become part machine and part signal, able to guide the crown, predict enemy shifts, and fire at the right moment. But also, they would never return. Captain Reyes stood before the council. I'll do it. Gasps filled the chamber. Harris protested. You're the best leader we have. I'm also the one who understands this war, she said. From the first ghost ship, to the vault, to Sultanus. No one else can make the call. In the moment, it counts. There was silence. Then a quiet voice said, she's right. Elder Vecker floated forward, his form dimmer now. You are not just a soldier, Reyes. You are the symbol, and symbols don't run. The link was formed the next day. Reyes stood inside the control chamber, wires snaking across her arms and back, monitors read her heartbeat, neural speed, stress rate, and then, as the solar core activated, her mind touched something new. She could see orbits, patterns, time, decay, and through it all, herself, still human, still burning, still unbroken, far across the stars. The Eater of Dawn arrived at the edge of Sol. It saw Earth, it saw Mars, and it saw the glow of something impossible. The crown, the weapon it had once destroyed, was reborn, and this time it waited. This time, it waited. This time, it was aimed right at it. The creature paused, and for the first time in its eternal cold existence, it did not move forward, it hesitated. The stars were silent again, but it wasn't peace. It was the silence before a storm so vast, even galaxies seemed to hold their breath at the edge of Sol system. Beyond Neptune's ghostly orbit, the Eater of Dawn had arrived. It was not a ship, not a being. It was a concept made flesh. A moving void-a-wound in reality that erased everything it touched, and now it looked upon humanity inside Mars' forge Helios. The Crown of Dawn hovered within its core cradle. Gold arcs spun in slow, precise rhythms. Energy pulsed like a heartbeat. The neural connection was complete. Captain Reyes stood at the center. No longer just a commander. Now she was the Crown's mind. Her thoughts moved faster than light, syncing with gravimetric fields, solar radiation, and temporal harmonics. She was ready outside. Fleets assembled. The remains of Earth's forces, Dolari cruisers, Valari wings, even distant machine ships of the Allen swarm, once neutral, now aligned by one logic. If the humans will fight the end, we cannot stay behind. In orbit, Lieutenant Harris took command of the defense line. He looked out at the formations, reduced but fierce. He opened a channel. This is Lieutenant Harris of Earth Defense. The thing coming toward us isn't death, it's forgetting, and humanity doesn't get forgotten. Lock targets, brace shields, and remember Captain Reyes is watching, so we don't break. 1,000 ships aligned. The system was ready, because the moment had come. At 3:17 Standard Galactic Time, the void rippled. A cold wave passed through space, snapping satellites, disrupting comms, and tearing a Jovian moon in half like paper. Then the Eater appeared, a vast, shifting mass of gravity tendrils and blacklight. Its core spun like a dying galaxy. Time itself distorted around it. Some ships drifted seconds ahead, others seconds behind. It was not just attacking matter, it was breaking time, but Earth fired first. The solar lances struck, gravity mines detonated, Dolari beam nets rippled with ancient force, and then the crown of dawn awakened from Mars. A pulse of golden-white energy flashed across the system to clean harmonic. Pure dot? It was the opposite of the Eater, not destruction, but stabilization. The creature reacted instantly, screeching in radio static, slamming tendrils into the nearest cruisers. Dozens of ships were erased, but the crown's light held. Inside, Reyes gritted her teeth. Focus on its phase rhythm. Match its collapse frequency. Fire in 3, 2, 1 now. The crown unleashed its first core shot. A golden spiral struck the Eater's edge, and for the first time ever, the Eater shrieked, not in pain, in recognition. This was the same frequency that once wounded it long ago by the Starkin. But this time, it was stronger. This time, the weapon had a pilot. Across the system, species watching through telescopes, streams, and thought-link channels saw what no one believed possible. The Eater staggered its tendrils, dimmed, and the humans advanced, led not by machines, not by gods, but by a woman inside a living sun. Rhea's mind stretched beyond herself. She could see time patterns, enemy movements, mass distortions, and she saw something terrible. It's adapting fast. It's learning from every hit. Kessler's voice came through the neural link. Then you'll have to outthink it. Copy that. The Eater pulsed again. A shockwave tore through Venus orbit. Entire ships folded into themselves. A Delary cruiser screamed as its AI core burned out from temporal overload. Still no, one fled. Instead, reinforcements arrived. Volari pulse strikers bombarded its rear mass. Allen drone swarms filled weak zones. Earth's final reserve project, Tempest launched plasma cores from Jupiter's orbit. But nothing compared to the crown's second. Shot Reyes locked into the Eater's central distortion. She saw where space bent too sharply, targeting. Now the second pulse was fired, not straight, but in a curved spiral. Matching the Eater's distortion, the beam struck its inner structure, and something inside the beast snapped. A massive section collapsed inward, imploding into itself, like part of it had forgotten to exist. Cheers erupted across the comms. Kessler's voice was breathless. That's it. You've exposed the heart. But then the Eater reacted faster than before. Tendrils flared, energy surged, and a single command echoed in every alien ship, every human console: erase. The creature struck, the EDC Resolute, Earth's second flagship, vanished in a flash of inverted light. A Dolari dreadnought collapsed into particles. Reyes screamed. Her neural feed surged with grief. Signals, pain. She almost lost connection. Almost, but not quite. A whisper echoed in her head. Not Kessler, not Harris, her own voice. Get up, get back in. Finish this. She steadied, wiped tears she couldn't feel, and powered the crown one last time. Every species watching knew what was coming. The Eater was wounded, but not dead. It was adapting. This was the final window. Reyes knew to, so she fired the final sequence, the Dawn Pulse's self-folding frequency loop tied to her own consciousness. It would require one thing. Her life, the neural core, would overload. Her brain would burn out. But the pulse would land, would end the thing. She looked at the Earth in her mind one last time. Blue, alive, fighting. Do it, she whispered. The crown launched a perfect beam of harmonic light carrying all the pain, memory, love, and rage of a rising species. It pierced the Eater's center. The void stopped, the stars stilled, and then the Eater of Dawn cracked. Light bled from its core. Its structure shivered, and with a silent burst of reverse time, it collapsed inward. Gone, gone, not dead, unwritten, like it had never existed in orbit. The crown of dawn burned out inside. Rhea's body slumped, but her signal remained, a golden echo through space. Not a scream, a message. We stood, we fought, we endured. Now remember us. Across the galaxy silence fell. Then stars shone brighter, because the end had come, and a human sent it away. The galaxy was quiet. For the first time in recorded memory, the dark did not grow. The Eater of Dawn was gone, not destroyed, not defeated race, removed from the fabric of time itself by a weapon rebuilt from the ashes of the ancients, and the heart of one human, her name, Captain Alina Reyes. No god, no superbing, just a soldier, and now a legend on Earth. The sun rose slower that day, not because time had shifted, but because millions of eyes watched it rise, silently, knowing she wouldn't see it, across Mars. The forge of Helios had shut down. The crown of dawn lay cold, its arcs dim, but etched into its metal. At the very core of the weapon was a new engraving 3 words in bold, universal code. She stayed awake. In orbit, Lieutenant Harris stood before the World Council. He wasn't used to speaking, but he did anyway. She could have chosen someone else. She didn't. She could have fired and pulled back. She didn't. She could have broken. She never did. Captain Reyes didn't win the war. She ended it. No one clapped. They just stood, in every species. In every language there was now a new word for bravery. It sounded a little different each time, but in English it was just Reyes Delari. Prime held a morning sky ritual, a rare event done. Only twice before in their entire history, massive light banners were released into the atmosphere, which carried a memory of the battle, a moment where the impossible became real. Elder Vecker spoke through the cosmos. In ancient days, we believed. Only those born among stars could guide fate. We were wrong, because a child of Earth, a world once feared and forgotten, rose to face the void, and the void blinked. From that day on, Delari children would wear a new charm around their necks, shaped like a golden spiral. They called it the Flame of Reyes, in the ruins of the Nithari fleets. Strange signals were found. Some of the enemy had not believed the Eater could ever fall. Now they did. Some cursed her name, but others changed. They whispered to each other in secret, "We thought decay was destiny, but she proved choice is stronger." From within, even the Eater's worshippers, came rebels, born of the memory of a human dot at Sultanas the Grave world of the Starkin. A new monument was built. Human architects, Delari engineers, and machine mind Allen constructed it together. At its center stood a towering statue of Captain Reyes, not holding a weapon, but standing with her hand open, pointing toward the stars, a flame carved into her chest. Beneath the statue, etched in every known language, she stood in place of the forgotten. She answered the silence. She broke the cycle. She reminded us to fight for what must not fade. Earth changed too. The Defense Council was dissolved. In its place, a unified star accord was formed: Earth Delari, Valari, Allen, and 6 other species. They didn't unite under fear. They united under something greater. The memory of one species who refused to die quietly, and of one captain who showed the galaxy how to live loudly on a quiet hill in New Santiago, South America. A girl sat under a tree. Her name was Maria. She was 7. She looked up at her grandfather and asked, "Was she real?" "The Fire Lady." He smiled, pointing at the stars. "More real than most things, because we remember her, and when enough people remember you, you never really leave." In the years that followed, the story of the First War became legend. Some called it the day the dark stopped. Others called it the last hunger. But most, across thousands of systems, simply called it the dawn, because that's what it was, not the end, but the beginning of unity, of hope, of fire. Epilogue, years later. A deep space probe on the edge of a forgotten sector picked up something strange, a pulse, a golden spiral signal, echoing faintly through the void. No words, just a hum, soft, rhythmic, familiar, the same frequency as the crown, the same resonance as her final strike. Dr. Kessler listened to it with tears in his eyes. "She's still out there," he whispered. "Not alive, not trapped, but echoing, woven into the fabric of the universe itself." Captain Reyes, the human who stood against the end and became something greater. The end.